Tonight, we have the privilege of receiving a student demonstration of learning from a group of students from Fern Creek Traditional High School about their visit to the Navajo Nation. The students will be joined by Rex Lee Jim, Vice President of the Navajo Nation, Principal Houston Barber, and teachers Brent Peters, Joseph Franzen, and Paul Barnwell. The Fern Creek Traditional High School students, principal, and teachers were invited to the Navajo Nation to facilitate a food and digital literacy workshop entitled In the Garden of the Home God 2013. Through this workshop, the students learned and shared their food practices in the home, classroom, and beyond. The workshop will conclude with a visit to Fern Creek Traditional High School from the Navajo students, faculty, and community on April 24th. This initiative was sponsored through a partnership between Middlebury College and the Smithsonian Institute. The goal of this project was to determine the outcomes of the relationship between the students from the Navajo Nation and Fern Creek Traditional High School and how their learning experiences have a positive impact on their academic success.
First, I want to say what an honor it is to be here before you today. And I want to just share a little bit about the Food Lit class at Fern Creek Traditional High School that leads up to the workshop on the Navajo Nation. Food Lit is an English 3 class at Fern Creek High School with a food theme that brings the Common Core together with the curriculum. When we talk about food, we're talking about biology, math, history, economics, business, technology, story, language, and local and global issues. The class starts by asking students to share their food stories, and we naturally see the connection to family, home, experience, and memory. We sit down as a class and we share class meals. We work in our school garden, and we connect to our local community and beyond. Most recently, our Food Lit, Digital Lit students were invited to the Navajo Nation by Vice President Rex Lee Jim to facilitate a food and digital literacy workshop, along with students from 4 high schools in the Navajo Nation. We formed relationships and understanding of Navajo people, culture, land, and food heritage. The workshop started with a focus on food, but it taught us all something about ourselves as well. These food and digital literacy students helped create this workshop and facilitate it. They made the case for students becoming teachers, now becoming researchers in the city of Louisville. And they want to share a little bit about this experience today with you.
My name is Cindy Johnson, and when I was chosen to attend the Navajo Nation, I expected the trip to allow me the opportunity to meet new people, experience new culture, and explore new places. However, I never expected to be influenced in such a way that changed the way I see myself. My life will forever be influenced in the most positive way due to the bonds created and the new point of view I've received.
My name is Azariah Wallace, and before visiting the Navajo Nation, I had a habit of always saying, I can't. For a while there, I found myself giving up before Mr. Rex Lee Jim sat down across from me and said, your mind is the greatest garden on earth. You cannot grow what you do not plant. He may have been speaking to the table when he said it, but his words hit me directly. Since then, I've replaced I can't with I will. And every day I wake up planting positivity and encouragement, because with these seeds, I will one day grow success. And with that, I realize now that I can never reach where I want to be by saying I can't.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Connors. I've never really been anywhere that I could say changed the way I look at the world. When I went to the Navajo Nation, I met some of the most amazing and inspiring people. They can go months without electricity and running water, which I believe is something that most people could never do. Nowadays, it's almost impossible to find people who truly respect the world and the people in it. And when I went to the Navajo Nation, I found that. They made me feel at home and like I was a part of their culture, and I greatly appreciate that.
My name is Jonathan Snyder. Going to the Navajo Nation, we were placed in a very different society. We stayed on the Dene College campus. We got to learn and see the reservation the way the college students see it. We also got to hear the stories from some of the adults and elders about how they grew up on the reservation. At the same time, I learned that we are a lot alike. I learned that we all struggle from the same problems. This is an amazing realization. This shows me that although we may appear different, We have many common issues, and if we put our heads together, we can make this world a better place.
My name is Devin Brown. This trip has made me question many things I thought I knew about my food, especially the relationship I have with my food. In Navajo culture, corn is held in the highest esteem, even to the point where they grow their own breed of it. Through growing their own corn, they build a relationship with it that is manifested through a level of respect unheard of in urban America. That respect truly makes America's relationship with food seem disrespectful. Since the trip, I have strove to build a deeper relationship and respect for my food.
Hi, my name is Spencer Brown. My biggest takeaway from going on the trip was the community that the Navajo have with each other. When they introduce themselves, they say what 4 clans they are. They say their mother's clan, their father's clan, and both of their grandparents' clans. From this, they know how to treat each other and what the proper way to act around each other is. They have this enormous sense of respect and dignity for one another, and these are traits that I've noticed are severely lacking in those around here. We need to learn to make more important and lasting relationships with each other, and to treat each other with respect.
My name is Sydney Ames, and as a sheltered video game playing teenager that subsists off of microwavable foods, the Navajo Nation the Navajo Nation deeply and permanently expanded my perspective of the world. I would love to tell you the amazing ways I have changed, such as the becoming more compassionate from being exposed to their sense of community and my increased respect for everything after seeing the Navajo relation to the sacred. But I know the greatest epiphanies are buried deep in my soul. I do know this trip changed my future, and I am appreciative of the opportunity to go and continue growth.
Hi, I'm Courtney. It's easy to impress people, but it's hard to change them. When I went to the Navajo Nation, I changed, as we all did. I fell in love with the landscape and the way looking into the horizon could disregard time altogether. I really felt like it gave me an eye for beauty.
Hi, my name is Irvin Schaefer. On this trip, I had one expectation, the expectation to teach others on my knowledge of food studies. I not only met those expectations, but I gained even more knowledge leaving the Navajo Nation. Being from Liberia, I've been to many places around the globe and around this country, but not one experience has given me the rich cultural feeling of a community. The Navajo Nation is so far apart, they're so together, calling out their tribes to create relationships. I brought this back to Louisville with the new expectation of going from an individual to being part of a community.
Hello, I'm Treasure Rodriguez. The largest impact the Navajo Nation trip had on me was the experience and recognition of different norms of relationships. Before, I had a perception that family wasn't always important, figuring most times when you needed to call on them, most turned their backs and walked away. But after hearing how sacred family was to the Navajo people, I soon realized that family is family. You don't always get to pick who's in your family, but regardless, they're blood. So when I returned, I quickly unplanted the negative seeds of family that I had and replanted them with positive seeds, watching them spur to beautiful outcomes, starting with the new blossom of a beautiful family I have here with me today.
It's quite inspirational. I had the opportunity to spend time with these wonderful students and learn some of their interesting backgrounds, as well as my teachers. What happened here was an experience of a lifetime, and it shaped and paved the way that has marked the way that our school is interacting with these students and with each other. One of the things that I'd like to mention is that I myself have been influenced, and while my kids might hate me at home, I've actually dropped cable. But reading is prevalent these days. But in all honesty, I'm very blessed to have been able to interact with such profound teachers. And, you know, the digital storytelling and the food literacy has made a mark on our school. We have done some pilot studies where basically our English 3 through regular core content standards and the English 3 with the core content standards, the same core content standards taught through food literacy, our kids are performing at a higher level. And it makes sense because they're real world problems and situations they have to adapt to. So we're very excited. I don't want to take too much time here because we have such an honored guest here this evening who I've grown great respect for. Vice President Rexley Jim comes to us from the Navajo Nation. He's met many famous people. He's good friends with Barack Obama all the way through several people throughout the country. But I just want to say that I've learned a great deal from him and what he does and his impact on students. So I'd like to turn it over to him and say thank you for the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, honorable members of the board, superintendent, members of the audience, and those who are listening. Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Rexley Jim. Someone mentioned earlier the 4 clans. We introduce ourselves formally that way, so we connect and make sure we're related. And then I stated specifically where I'm from, because we have a strong relationship to places that we live. I'd like to say thank you, and I'd also like to share with you and say that one of the greatest threat, one of the greatest enemies of the United States of America is our health. We have obesity, we have diabetes. Our American diet is way out of control. And so one of the reasons why we're doing this about food literacy is not only to educate ourselves, but to find ways to give the skills needed, necessary to our students, to our children, so that they can use these skills to educate themselves, their families, their communities, the nations, and have influence worldwide. The Breadloaf School of English, we have programs where groups of students from Alaska, Nairobi, and other places around the world, they read the same piece of literature at the same time, and they communicate and talk about these issues. And with that in the background, we like to do similar things with food literacy. That I'm so glad that Fern Creek Traditional High School and schools of the Navajo Nation are working together to educate people about food, about health, about food policies from the international to the local level, about local food economies and how they can contribute to it. We are so thankful and grateful for that, and we strongly appreciate it. And I share the stories with people wherever I go, including the students here. I grew up in an alcoholic family. When I was a little kid, I raised my brothers and sisters. There was a time when we were out in the boonies, around the greasewood bushes, where I had to build a fire. It's by the light of that fire that I did my homework and read. Several years later, I was at Oxford University at Lincoln College doing my homework in an old church that was converted to a library with chandelier lights above me. To go from one place to this other place takes tremendous courage, and I know exactly what it takes to succeed. But I also know that it can be done regardless of your circumstances. And so I do everything I can to ensure that students have access to the best education they can receive. And so I thank each and every one of you, members of the board, for doing what you can for our students, for our children. And I also encourage people to say, don't say students, because that sounds a little bit distant. If we say our children, our perspective changes, and what we do for them changes. And so thank you so much, and let's do everything we can for our children, for ourselves, for our communities, and our nation. Thank you very much.
This Wednesday, the 24th, 9 scholars from the Navajo Nation will be coming to Louisville with their teachers. We plan on using Louisville as a classroom to study the convergence of food and poverty, food and the choices that we make, food and morality, food and education, food and place, and food and home. We're only able to do this because we have a whole lot of partners. Some of those which we'll be visiting, 21C, Mayan Cafe, Harvest, Field Day Family Farm, the Food Literacy Project, Kenny's Country Cheese, and a whole slew of experts and community members that want to help us build these relationships and gain a deeper knowledge of what we're existing in right now as a food reality. If you would like to be more involved in this relationship, we invite all of you guys to come down to the Bardstown Farmers Market, where we'll be setting up a booth, presenting, and continuing this conversation from 9 to 11 this Saturday. That concludes our presentation, and I thank you very much for this opportunity to share the amazing work that these students are doing.